It's in our earbuds, smartphones, laptop computers, cordless vacuum cleaners and electric scooters. It's this, the lithium-ion battery. This technology is key to us driving around without burning fossil fuels. But what does it take to make all these batteries? What do we do with them once they're spent? And why on earth are we playing with Lego in this video? Let's find out. Thanks to lithium-ion batteries, we might now be entering a new era of mobility. Because of their high energy density, they are perfect in electric vehicles. For a relatively tiny package, they pack a big punch.
The lithium-ion battery has really enabled many parts of the decarbonization. For everything in mobility, lithium-ion batteries, I would say they have been a key technology, really. The potential is so big in that sector. We get such a scale in the production, and that brings the cost down of the batteries.
The global fleet of electric vehicles is predicted to grow immensely over the next decade, from around 8 million to 116 million. This means the demand for lithium-ion batteries will also shoot up, and this is where we might run into some problems.
Of course, it has a cost. We need materials to produce the batteries, and in any extractive industry has an impact on the environment.
Lithium is, as you probably guessed, pretty central to making a lithium-ion battery. About 50% of the world's reserve of this alkali metal can be found here, in the so-called lithium triangle across Argentina, Bolivia and Chile. Mining it involves pumping salt water from underground lakes into pools and letting it evaporate, a process that could harm the surrounding soil, drain water supplies and contaminate the air. Also, lithium is finite. A study found we could run into serious trouble by mid-century if demand keeps growing like this. And then there's cobalt that also goes into lithium-ion batteries. It's a metal mainly found in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Its mining has often been linked to inhumane working conditions and child labor. People exposed to it have suffered from lung disease or heart problems.
Then you have also the energy that is required to make these batteries. And especially production of cells require a lot of energy.
And this means CO2 emissions. How much exactly really depends on the electricity mix of the producing country. But according to recent figures, making just a small battery for a car like this could cause more than 4 tons of CO2. To give you an idea, that's like driving a new diesel car bought in the EU for about 33,000 kilometers. The good news is that emissions are sinking as battery production becomes more efficient and we shift towards cleaner energy sources. The bad news is that the batteries are losing capacity over time, so as there are more and more EVs, there will also be more and more spent batteries. How do we deal with them?
They should be recollected and selected, recombined and reused in different purposes, in different applications.
Right, we can give spent car batteries a second life. For example, they can be turned into energy storage for wind or solar. They could also power your next camping trip, and they still have enough juice left to drive a forklift or a boat. And discarded EV batteries are already used for all these things today.
We should extend the value and lifespan of that materials by reusing. After using up the original function of that product, they could be recycled as raw materials and to produce more products.
Let's get out the Lego to understand how lithium-ion batteries get recycled. It often involves smelting, so essentially heating them until they melt. But this uses lots and lots of energy, creates toxic emissions and loses some of the materials. And that's why companies are coming up with new ways to recycle.
You want to have, as much as we can, high-value materials that have taken a lot of effort to get out of the ground. We want to use those carefully and as many times as we can.
This is Kunal Falfa, Chief Commercial Officer at Li-Cycle, a lithium-ion battery recycling company from Canada.
We've basically come up with a process designed specifically for this to have high recovery rates of the material. And the first stage, what we call our spoke, is a mechanical process that breaks down the batteries and separates some of the fundamental materials.
Very simply speaking, this is what happens. The batteries are shredded while being submerged in a non-toxic solution. This is important because it prevents them from catching fire and, in the worst case, blowing up. Then materials like plastic, copper and aluminium are separated from what the industry calls the black mass. This contains the valuable materials like cobalt, nickel and lithium.
The second part of the process is the hub, and this is really a bespoke hydrometallurgy or wet chemistry process to process black mass into battery-grade materials.
What this means is that different chemicals get added to the black mass, which leach out different elements. These chemicals either make their way into the final products or are reused in the process, so this actually doesn't produce any wastewater. You end up with the black mass separated into its single components like lithium, cobalt and nickel.
So the end goal is that as we pull them out of the batteries, we're putting them back into new batteries. And that hasn't been achieved yet at a high scale. There's elements of it around the world, but we want to help to continue to drive that forward.
It is hard to keep track exactly how many lithium-ion batteries already get recycled, mainly because they're often exported. But it is already happening more and more, especially in Asia, where most of them are also produced. And as volumes of spent batteries grow, it will make even more financial sense to recycle them.
This is in the ideal world that we hope that there is no virgin minerals need to be mined, and all the minerals, materials that they already produce could be reused indefinitely.